I'd said from day one that if you enter this country legally, it's a crime. If you choose to have a U.S. citizen child, knowing you're in this country legally, you put yourself in that position. You put your family in that position. What we did is remove children with their mothers who requested the children depart with them. They weren't deported. We don't deport U.S. citizens. The parents made that decision, not the United States government.
This is what he said. The Trump administration put 3 children, and the children are United States citizens, and that's an important point here, on deportation flights with their mothers late last week. One of them is a 4-year-old boy with stage 4 cancer who was deported without medication or the ability to contact their doctors, the family's lawyer said. And while the so-called border czar, Tom Homan, says their mothers chose to have their children shipped out of the country with them, it's not at all clear that that's exactly what happened. The mothers were given, quote, given virtually no opportunity to speak with lawyers or their family members. Maria Teresa Kumar is the president and CEO of the Latino political engagement organization, Voto Latino. Brendan Buck served as press secretary to Speaker John Boehner, as well as chief communications advisor to Speaker Paul Ryan. And Neera Tanden was formerly a domestic policy advisor to President Biden. She is now the president and CEO of the Center for American Progress, and she was that before as well. Neera, let me start with you, because as a domestic policy advisor, for folks at home who don't know, the domestic policy advisor in the White House is the person that is very self-explanatory. They shepherd the president's domestic policy agenda, so that it touches on everything, including from the economy to immigration, right? This border czar situation, using quotes, is a made-up thing. It's something that the Trump administration created, and I'm unsure about really where Tom Homan sits in the White House hierarchy there, if he's a part of the Domestic Policy Council or not. But what is your take on this 9 a.m. press conference this morning talking about immigration? The White House had the streets, the winding road up to the White House on the White House grounds lined with photos of people that they say are criminals. I think that this is trying to make their point here that they are, addressing the lawless and the quote-unquote illegal, but again, due process is what makes someone a criminal, and we're not seeing that right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, what I took from today was essentially that President Trump's poll numbers are sinking like a rock, and they think that immigration is, their calling card. It is their strongest issue, but it is an issue that is also sinking. President Trump had a kind of huge advantage on immigration after the election, and he has really squandered that. And I think it's actually a really important reminder that, a lot of Democrats said people shouldn't talk about due process rights for people, but due process rights really are what protect individuals, us as citizens, our own liberty against an overreaching state. And when the federal government is taking children who need cancer treatments, let me just say that, an American citizen child who needs a cancer treatment and isn't providing that child's mother any lawyer or any due process and just deporting that parent, I understand that it's important to keep families together. I totally understand that. But the idea that mother would say, no, I don't want my child to have the cancer treatment, I just find that really hard to believe. And I think that this will kind of lead to a backlash. And I actually am pretty hopeful that even on issues like this, the American people can see that, of course, we need strong borders. We need to make changes on the border to ensure that they're secure. But we don't have to become a heartless country where we turn our back on really the most dire medical needs of children.
Brendan, Neera mentioned some of the polling, and I mean, she's absolutely right. Politico has a story on recent polls showing that Donald Trump is getting negative marks on immigration. A quote notes, a new Washington Post ABC Ipsos poll released Friday put Trump at 53% disapproval among Americans on immigration, with 46% approving. The numbers get even worse when you ask about specific things. Immigration was a winning issue, frankly, for the Republican Party apparatus, because many people are experiencing in their communities now, from D.C. to Chicago to Denver, everywhere in between. But the cruelty of what is happening and the lack of due process, I think that the Trump administration is overplaying their hand.
I mean, the remarkable speed with which they've blown their political advantage is something it would be hard to do this. If I were to map out how to undermine your own advantage, it would be this. Deport American children. Deport someone and admit you made a mistake, but then say you can't get them back. I mean, look, the country was signed up for this. I mean, they said Joe Biden was, and I think rightfully so, too lenient on the border. We need a stronger enforcement mechanism here. And they were ready to support him. And he has so overreached, so fumbled the ball on this so many times that he's blown his lead, and eventually people are going to stop trusting him. I think it would help them if whenever they make a mistake, to say, we can fix this, we'll fix it, we'll bring it back, you can trust us. But the fact that they just stiff arm, anytime they screw something up, they say, it's not our problem, it's not our fault, it's this woman's fault. I mean, they talked about they were going to prioritize criminals and the most dangerous people here, not the mothers of cancer-stricken children. That just isn't going to sell. And eventually, I think even Donald Trump's political, antenna is going to go off and say, we may need to dial it back a little bit here.
It might be too late. I want to play. This is the lawyer for the 2-year-old U.S. citizen who was removed from the United States. Yes, a 2-year-old has a lawyer.
ICE has been misrepresenting what's in this letter. The letter, as was just stated, says, my child will come with me. I will bring my child. It's not a statement of desire. It's not a statement of what the mother hoped or wanted to happen. And in fact, what we now know is the mother was told, your child will be deported with you, and was told to write this letter that said, my child will come with me. She was never provided an opportunity to make a different choice.
We did not. We had audio, no video, but it is harrowing. And the 4-year-old, no cancer treatment, medication, put on the plane, did not have an opportunity, according to the lawyers, the mother in that case did not have an opportunity to speak to the child's father, to make arrangements. This is unconscionable.
Well, it actually gives you an idea of how quickly they deported her. They didn't give her the opportunity to talk to the child's doctor. They didn't give her an opportunity to pack the child's medication. There's the case of the 2-year-old where the father was in court the day before and says, I want to take custody of my child. And the court basically, he filed it and the court opened the next day. But by the time that the court was reviewing it, the mother and child were already deported. So the idea is that cruelty is the point. But one of the reasons that I think that they're doing this is because the economy is tanking. And so they're trying to use immigration policy as the scapegoat. If you heard the czar today with the press secretary, the words that they were using against undocumented immigrants was grotesque. And it's because they're trying to make every single undocumented person dehumanized. We just came out of a poll for the 100 Days of Trump. 66% of Latino voters, 1,000 voters around the country who voted, mostly, 45% of them for him, are living under fear. Physical fear, because they recognize that the moment that you walk out that door, no one's going to ask you for your papers. Because we're talking about what the government is doing is not only going after brown people that may be undocumented, but it also incites those individuals that feel that they're going to be vigilantes and also go after the community.
I will note a conservative Trump-appointed judge ordered a hearing in the case of one of the 3 children, saying that the 2-year-old appeared to have been put on deportation flight with no meaningful process. The government, this is what the judge says, the government contends that this is all okay because the mother wishes that the child be deported with her, but the court doesn't know that.